We adopted Odyssey over 2 years ago, and our care has changed and grown so much since then. So because of that, here's how our care journey started off. Prior to bringing Odyssey home, I unfortunately did not do much research. She was brought home and was immediately placed into an unsuitably sized pet store cage with a terrible setup. We used egg cartons for bedding for some reason. I'm not sure why or what went through my mind for that. We used the smallest litter boxes ever, and they were only about this tall, not tall enough to contain anything, and we were not having a very good setup at all. The hiding house was much too small, and she had little to no enrichment at all. She also had a play area outside of her setup, but she was unable to get to it because she wasn't able to jump the gap from her cage at that time, so she was not able to have enough playtime outside of her enclosure. Along with that, the playtime area was on the carpet, and she was not yet litter trained, so we had to put garbage bags down under some sheets, and that unfortunately didn't work, and she still managed to pee onto the carpet. Another thing is that her diet was also absolutely terrible during that time. We used the terrible hay feeder that came with the cage, and she wasn't able to get much hay out of it, nor did she end up eating much hay during that time at all. She ate mainly pellets, and we did not give her the proper amount of pellets, but luckily at least the brand we got somewhat right. It was the Oxbow brand. She didn't get enough veggies either. Even though she was young, we introduced her to veggies at an alarming rate. Honestly, we gave her way too much at one time, and it honestly didn't work out. We started off by giving her a water bottle as well. It didn't work well. We immediately switched to a bowl. And another flaw with the playtime area was that we had the gates, and the gates did not connect to the cage directly. So if she wanted to, she probably could have pushed her way out. Luckily, she did not. After a few days of living like that in the living room, we decided to move her to the kitchen. I'm not exactly sure the reason, but so she was still living in that small pet store cage. It measures around 8 square feet, give or take. And she really only got out of cage time for 3 hours maximum during the day, which is nowhere near enough, especially for a cage so small. She still had the terrible diet and the terrible litter box setup, so we actually decided to make the litter box setup even worse, so we didn't put bedding in it, and we just decided to leave it just as a litter box. And my dad bought like a glass casserole dish, and we used that instead of the plastic small litter boxes that we had. But that was not any better, and we had to take it outside to the garden, dump out, hose down, and clean, and we didn't put any bedding back in, so there's nothing to soak up her pee, and that ended up with her white paws getting very, very yellow. We decided to use better flooring at least, which I could say is a plus, but that really doesn't get rid of all the negatives or weigh it out at all. We decided to use an old sheet for the inside of the enclosure, and then for when she had playtime outside, we used some old beach towels, which at least gave her a little traction. Still not ideal though. Fast forward to late 2020, we fixed the litter box setup at least, and we did this because we had to, for the winter, we had to close down the water outside, so we couldn't use the hose. So we decided to finally invest in a proper litter box, and that's still the same one that we use today actually. And we decided to put some paper bedding in it, so finally the litter box setup was fixed. We also found out about a farm near us at that time, so we were able to provide some better quality and better variety of hay that's also luckily cheaper, because at the time before that we were using Walmart hay, and that was absolutely terrible. The quality was very hit or miss, and it was also very dusty all the time. When school started in late 2020, we decided to put another gate, so then she had around 30 square feet, give or take, of space while my brother and I were doing online school at the kitchen table. We would have given her more space, but because of the cables, we weren't able to. So she had around 30 square feet for the majority of the day, and then during the night, she was still stuck in that 8 square feet, which is not ideal at all. Unfortunately, we also still gave her a lot of pellets, and her veggie variety still wasn't great. She mainly really got romaine lettuce, maybe some Brussels sprouts or bok choy or something like that, but nothing much. Her water bowl at least she had, but other than that, I can't say that her diet improved so much during that time, other than the more varieties of hay that we were able to get. Additionally, we invested in some mats that we got from Dollarama, and she ended up eating those very, very quickly. I'm not sure why I didn't take them away sooner, but we bought 3 of them, and I probably would have said that she's eaten the equivalent of 1 whole mat within that time. I tried covering them up with towels, but then she still managed to dig through them and eat them. Another thing that somewhat improved during this time would probably be enrichment. I started making some more toys. I started watching more of pet care on YouTube, and I started to become more of a pet care person that was interested in pet care. I started watching more YouTube videos because I was bored in class after I was done. So I followed a lot of tutorials on oneul rabbits and stormy rabbits, and I created a lot of toys for her. In early and mid 2021, her care honestly hadn't changed much, except for the fact that we got some CNC grids, and we used those to block off the sofas at first, and we thought that we would be able to let her run in the living room as well. Unfortunately, Odyssey, being the mischievous rabbit she is, was able to move around the CNC grids and still get under the sofa. So that only really lasted for a few days or so, but even those few days felt nice. It felt like she was actually part of the family when we were able to be in the living room and play a card game as a family, and Odyssey would be around. My mom didn't really enjoy it at that time as she was scared of Odyssey, but it's still nice to have that feeling. So of course we had to put those CNC grids to use. We weren't just gonna let them sit around and do nothing, so my dad decided to try and make some sort of pen or gate out of it, and we were able to create one and make a playtime space for Odyssey just to block off the rest of the living room, so she still had some of the living room and she had the entire eating area of the kitchen to run around. Actually, this cage setup from this time you'd be able to see in my very first cage tour video on this channel. And as you can see, it still wasn't the greatest. She was still locked up in the 8 square feet cage during the night. She only had around 30 square feet for the majority of the day, but at least she got to run out for most of the other times. Her diet during this time didn't really improve either. We were still feeding her a full quarter cup of pellets, honestly way too much, and we were feeding her Oxbow's Essential pellets, not the best brand, honestly. Best brand now would probably be the Oxbow Garden Select, and the Oxbow Essential ones that we were feeding had a lot of soy in it and such. I'm surprised she didn't react sooner. Now moving on to fall winter of 2021. So by this time I was going to go back to in-person school for the next school year, so we had to move her back to the living room somehow, and so we did this by using the CNC grids, connecting it to the pet store cage and making a larger enclosure. I think you can probably see this video still up on my channel, and you can see the cage tour, and this was probably when my care really started improving and when I really started doing more research and delving more into how to properly care for rabbits, but more the specifics of the rabbit care, because I honestly hadn't done much before that. That setup had a lot more enrichment, and she had that setup for around the full year. She was able to run out into more of the living room because we had baby gates that we used. So during the day when my parents work at home, she was able to have around, say, total of 50 square feet, and when we were all around, she was able to run out from the living room and have the kitchen as well. So she really did have a nice amount of space during that time, and she had around 23 square feet during the night. In early 2022, she developed some issues with eating pellets. I'm honestly surprised she didn't develop these issues sooner, but they happened at one point, and I'm pretty sure that for a lot of rabbits this will happen because they are so processed. So Odyssey kept eating pellets, and we still fed her around 1 to 2 tablespoons a day. I did luckily lower it, but she was still reacting to it. She would get really bad gas, and I had to feed her gas drops quite a few times, and I came home from school and she wouldn't eat, and that got me really scared. I removed the pellets from the diet, and that's when I realized that, oh, pellets aren't really that great. So I decided to do more research into German rabbit care and also search on more of European standards of pet care, and that's where I learned about a lot more of the things that I know today. Since removing the pellets from our diet, we added more varieties of veggies, and we probably also added a lot more of forages and a lot of things for her to do, and we added a lot of enrichment as well during this time. And I think this was my rabbit care, I'm not gonna say peak, because I don't think I peaked then. I'm just gonna say that was the start of my peak. And we were able to add a lot more enrichment, a lot more toys, a lot more things just for her to do in general, and I think that's when my rabbit care really started improving a lot. So we finally removed pellets, and then we added more veggies, and we started working towards ad libitum. We added more veggies slowly just so she would get used to it. And then she also got the same amount of playtime, same cage as she had before. So really that brings us to now. A few months ago I created her new enclosure using new CNC grids, and that is around 26 or so square feet, and that's what she has at night. During the day, she has around, give or take, 50 square feet of space or so, and then for about maybe 3-4 hours during the day, she also has the run of the kitchen as well, and she also free roams a few times every week. She's pellet free, and her full diet is based off of unprocessed foods, and I think that was the best decision that I've made regarding her care, because it's just honestly helped her so much. She is still just as food motivated even without the pellets, and she hasn't shown any signs of any nutrient deficiencies or such, because we do provide her with so many varieties of veggies and so much veggies. Honestly, now she probably gets around 5, 6, 7 even cups of veggies during the day, and she gets a variety of herbs and dried flowers throughout the day as well. As you can probably tell by now, if you stick through the whole video, we improved from starting off with typical rabbit care, which is not great, stuck in a small pet store cage, little to no hay, diet of mainly pellets, to something that many other rabbit care owners might look up to even. We have a large cage, we provide a lot of veggies and enrichment, and Odyssey is probably living a very happy life right now. Through all the mistakes that I've made throughout the journey, I've realized that had I just done research prior to getting her, I honestly would have done so much better. We could have had a better setup from the start. We could have had a better enclosure from the start. We could have had better enrichment, diet, so many things. But mistakes get made, and smart people don't make the same mistake twice. Luckily, I have not made the same mistake twice for Odyssey yet, and we have been improving so much. But just remember, research is always ongoing. You can always learn something new every day, and that's how your care improves. So that was our entire rabbit care journey up until now. I'm sure there will be mistakes that I'll make in the future as well, but we'll learn from those, and we'll continue to grow with our rabbit care journey. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!